plugged in.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll call our CCA meeting to order at 5:31. Whatever day it is, March 14th. So our first order of business. Thank you very much. Our first order of business should be to welcome
Yeah.
Andrew. Make that official.
Thank you.
But yes, so thank you for the agenda too. So we need to approve our minutes. Normally what Simon would do is, I don't know what you do in your committee, bring them up on the screen and then for anybody that hasn't read them, they can skim through.
Yeah.
And I must say, we really did like how Simon numbered the paragraphs. I don't know if you're gonna continue to do that, but
I can, yeah.
It helps because if we want to say, oh, it's in 3.2.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
and the Conservation Commission liked it too, so it was easier.
Out of curiosity, not commenting on minutes, but Simon said town would get a COI for the event, for the May 5th Audubon. Did he hand that off to you? Are you
He did.
doing COIs now?
Yes. And let's see, I can confirm if he's,
In 6.1.
Yes, there you go, use those numbers.
let's see, May 5th. Yes. Terry, that's your,
That is, yes, that's this committee's series, event.
so that has been, it's all set.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, anyone want a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the as is. I don't have any other comments on that.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, no abstained? That's all of us. I'm gonna text John.
I guess the question is about the select board member.
Oops, yeah, there, you should have said in between there, any more discussion, right? And then after, yeah, before we
Well,
took
yeah,
a vote,
jump that.
that's all right.
I guess I'm adding it.
We're still allowed to, are we still allowed to discuss it or not? I mean, Yeah,
The minutes.
the minutes were approved, but you can still comment.
This is not a minute comment,
Oh, okay.
just that our, right, for the members here, we are missing our. select
Oh,
board member.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Mike usually
Mike.
isn't here, so
Mike is not
he's,
here.
yeah.
Can we, we're being recorded. Mike, it would be lovely if you could join us.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen him in
Couple of months.
4 months.
Right. Yeah.
So like, I don't know what we do to like, kind of poke the select board to say like, Mike, if Mike's not available, we should have a select board representative.
Understood.
Not to like get him in
Sorry
trouble.
for your first day.
Yeah.
He's a volunteer and all, right? So all select
Right.
board
It
people
is.
are volunteers, so we're grateful for when he has come, but if he can't come, we need it. We need somebody new.
So, the manager's office does track attendance for
Okay.
meeting, or actually, I track attendance now and I report to the manager's office. I believe Mike is, well, he's been, he's continuing another year on the select board.
Yeah,
So I think there's some
True.
question of whether or not he will continue on this board.
okay.
I think there would be an opportunity to
Yeah.
discuss it.
Yeah.
I think that they are reassigning their roles at this next select board meeting on
Okay.
Tuesday.
Their commitment.
Yeah, and not every committee has a select board. member.
Right, that's not our like,
Yeah, so you could have, if you weren't
That's
available
interesting,
on the select board.
Oh, John's in the waiting room. Do you need to let him in?
Let me let him in.
oh, I was gonna say, how did you know, but you're texting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be, interesting to see if maybe one of the other members would be interested. If he
Or
can,
if they don't, we still have a 5-member committee, we could open up a a
Good.
position in
Right.
front of the general public.
Oh, true. Oh, that's a good.
Because that's, in energy, we have a member, we have Melinda who sits in from planning and then her energy role, but we all have 7 members that are just from the public.
Public, okay. So that's
that's-
something to look into.
In the new fiscal year, something to explore.
Yeah.
If we can, I think the goal is to have a broad push for volunteers. I know there are other boards that are seeking members. So if this is seat we wanna fill.
Mhm.
Yeah. Definitely, I noted that and.
Yeah,
How many
thanks for
are
bringing that up.
Thank you.
Yes.
7.
Is there, I don't know, I haven't read our bylaws. Do we have bylaws? I don't even know. This committee, like,
Committee, it
we
depends
have
on is select board.
We have what?
determines the
4
office.
plus, oh, they do?
Yeah.
Okay. We're kind of small. I mean, like, it'd be nice to have a few more members, because everybody brings
Parks
their
and Rec
own
has, I
energy.
think, 7 as well.
Yeah, maybe you can look into that and.
Seven is pretty standard.
Yeah.
I know that, like the hack, which is now the HDAC, was 7, went to 5.
Hmm.
It's,
And that is
Yeah.
what,
What's HDAC?
they do, historical and design review.
okay.
They're an advisory committee as well.
Yeah, like, if we could add more members, I think that'd be great.
And then, I mean, it would be great to have a select board
Or
member.
like,
but-
I guess the question would be like, what was the reasoning to have our board this size? Because I think the more community engagement, the more energy comes to the committee, the more.
See if there's interest. I mean, it's challenging sometimes to get
Sure.
volunteers.
It is, there's a lot of
Sure.
openings for volunteers in the town in general.
It's listed on the website.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so, we'll move to our next agenda, and we didn't do public comment, we
Oh,
usually
yeah,
do
is there
public
public,
comment,
yeah.
is that,
we can,
let's do that, is there any members of the public that would like to comment? I don't think there is.
No,
Is Ethan considered
yeah, he's,
public?
he
John,
could make
maybe
public
too?
comment if he would like, so could John, and
Okay.
anyone can.
yeah.
How
Yeah,
about you,
that's true.
John,
They are
too?
part of public.
Okay,
Okay.
Ethan's saying,
Ethan's
no,
ahead.
that's giving us the thumbs down.
Not yet.
Wait, Ethan, are you at home? I just drove past your house, I came down from Bolton after skiing.
I think he's in California.
I'm in Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, Washington.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
Receiving an award.
Yeah, I
No
just
less.
got it. You wanna see it?
Yeah, let's see it.
I don't know if you can read that. It's probably backwards.
And
No,
outstanding
no, that actually
year.
is,
Through the year.
congratulations.
Tree farm system.
Yeah.
So Catamount, we actually need to get Catamount back in the American tree farm system. There's a tree farm sign on the side of the barn.
Yeah, it
Right.
was, yes.
The American tree farm system, it sounds like it's like something for orchards or Christmas tree farms or something, but it's actually like this really iconic network of pretty exemplary working forests. And Jim and Lucy were the Vermont Tree Farmers of the Year in 1989
Oh,
for the American Tree Farm System. And so I have like these clippings of them with like a young Patrick Leahy, coming to the farm and articles written about it and stuff. So, and the tree farm inspectors are just foresters who work with the program.
yeah.
So I think probably because of some of the education and outreach stuff, they named me this year the National Tree Farm Inspector of the Year.
Cool, that's great.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And I got to come out a little early and look at the redwoods, which I've never seen before, which was really cool.
They're beautiful, yeah. Excellent.
Awesome. Well,
So
thank
we
you.
will
Me-
put that under public comment.
Yeah, but then under public comment,
Yeah, right.
Tree farm, yeah.
Yes.
We usually don't have public.
It would be cool. So Jim and Lucy, they have that, or Catamount has that sign. But it's actually not officially still in the system.
Oh, okay, so they'd have to
if I get back in the
reapply.
system, I would just have to fill out a form and we would have to pay $30 a year. It's a voluntary designation. It's just like wanting to be part of this network voluntarily. It doesn't get us anything except for just being able to say that we're, a real American Tree Farm System, family forest tree farm. But
Can we
I
get
think
another
I think it'd be
sign?
something worth doing, just to sort of live up to that legacy that Jim and Lucy had with that program.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we'll look into that when you get back,
Awesome.
before you leave. A little window.
Okay, so we'll draw public comments to a close unless there's anything else. Okay. So next, we're 1 minute late, stewardship fund, committee project ideas. Terry and Reed, you submitted something, yes?
Yes,
We really did all the work.
Well, last
But
meeting,
we, yeah.
when I was still down south, Terry brought up the idea, which is in the minutes of, doing something to put plants in where the invasives have been removed.
Mm.
And so while I was sitting there on Zoom, I found where the, Champlain Conservation Area has their annual tree sale and pulled up their brochure, and then I wrote this little proposal dated March 5th.
Could you pull that up? Is that,
Yeah.
would that be possible?
Which basically outlines the benefits of planting native species where invasives have been removed. And then what we need to consider for that. So the first, those bullets 1 through 4 are, you know, the positives of why we would do this. Improving the habitat for birds, habitat for pollinators, which is already pollinator plants along the buck fence there. So there's, you know, ongoing reasons to do that. Diversity of the forest, which Ethan has been promoting with us for years, and adding an educational opportunity for people to learn about maybe new things that we're planting. So we would have to look at, going down to the next section of 5 bullets, look at where we would put them, the cost, types of shrubs, labor, and how do we protect them from deer and other wildlife that would just love to chew these little things right off. So the Winooski Natural Resources Conservation District, as one example, does put out a brochure, and this is their purchasing time right now, in 6 major categories, of which some may seem appropriate to put in and others aren't. I don't know that we would run out and buy a bunch of balsam fir and put them in there, but more in the shrub areas. And they sell them as bare root. I've actually planted with them before along riverbeds, and so they're pretty good size shrubs and trees. I've done a few projects with them. So, and they're pretty reasonable. Their shrubs run about $10 a piece. So I did put a small rough cost estimate, was just off the cuff. If we did 50 plants the first year, you know, you spend $500, and then you should get some soil supplements, possibly and fertilizers, and then something to protect the plants. And then, assuming this is all done through volunteer effort, you could pull off a project for $750. So the question then is, where do you get the money? The stewardship fund is one. This isn't in the town budget for the current year or the upcoming year. Or we go after a grant, small grant, from, we'd find an organization. Or we sell cookies, you know.
Good old bake
And,
sale.
I thought the state had a nursery program to sell trees, but I guess they don't have that anymore. I looked into that, and on their website, it says, no, we no longer have a nursery program where we sell trees. And then you have private places you can buy trees, but the costs are gonna be a lot higher.
Yeah.
From nurseries. I'm sure if we scouted around on the internet, we could find other places that sell bare root. The value of the Winooski Natural Resources, it's local, you know, and so they're sourcing their plants that are geared to our environment here. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, ours and the Intervale's another good source. They have a nursery down there.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was only one example of, if you were to go to, can you click on that link, please, in blue? Yeah, it should open. Oh, it's spinning, it's trying, there it is. This is their brochure. And you can see you can do everything from fruits and nuts and trees and bushes and And then it lists the different types of which many are probably already in our area. So they're taking pre-orders through April 26th and pick up on May 11th. And then you'd want to have a planting party shortly thereafter.
Right.
Yeah.
To get them in the ground.
You need to get them in the ground before it gets too hot and they dry out, because you have to protect the roots and keep them moist. Like I say, I've done 2 of these projects, with them before, where they got out tons of people, and we planted hundreds and hundreds of trees in a day, along the riverbanks, so you get very
In
many.
Vermont?
Yeah, right on the Winooski.
Oh.
One of them actually at Allenbrook,
Yeah.
where the bridge that washed away this past December. If you go out there in that riparian area, there's a lot of trees growing, and a whole bunch of us went out there with school kids and got really dirty one day and planted a ton of trees, and then I did another one in Colchester along the Winooski. So they do these periodically.
Mhm.
So they're good trees, and they tend to live in our environments well, because they're all native stock. Yeah, for our zones.
So I did talk to Ethan a little bit, and I'm glad he's here, about planting native trees and shrubs at Catamount in the areas that we're taking out the invasives. And so this wouldn't be in the area that was just logged, the forest management area. It would be other areas that volunteers and the folks that we've been hiring, Ethan's been contracting with local folks to treat invasives.
Yeah.
So it'd be in those areas kind of to try to just encourage natives instead of the buckthorn and honeysuckle to grow back.
If I can make 2 comments, one, I love the idea of like fruit trees around. I mean, like, I look forward to the fall, going around Catamount and the random apple trees that are there.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how gross the apples taste, I'll eat a bunch.
Yeah,
But they're not, some of them aren't too bad. So I mean, I think this, just from a user point of view, like, I feel like this would add to the forest, even if it takes like 10, 20 years for these trees to bear any fruit. I like that. I mean, but that's just from a user point of view. And then so put that aside. My other question is, we just agreed to do like an invasive plan.
Mhm.
And I wonder, like, this is our idea, or like, should this come from the invasive plan, or at least we should make sure it's compatible with whatever the
Yeah,
invasive plan
I
is.
agree that
That
needs
would
to
put
be,
it
you know,
together.
you have to say, if we have a plan and we're going to eradicate from this acreage,
Yeah,
then what do we do it afterwards? So it's not just bare land, so,
yeah,
so I think making it an addendum to it or part of it
Mhm.
seems reasonable.
So it hasn't been written yet, and I think Ethan can probably speak to that. Bob, right, Bob is going to be working on, I mean, we haven't,
Yeah, I think we still have to get it through the select board. But then what we would do would be to, make a contract with Bob, and the plan would probably be delivered, like late summer. Cause he needs to see it in summertime to be able to like, really tell what's going on.
and then do we tell Bob like, oh, hey, by the way, we have this idea, like,
Yeah.
we wanna plant some of these things, is that
Yeah.
okay, is that
Yeah,
helpful, is that part of
Yeah,
the
we just let him know that
production
there's interest, if he thinks it's appropriate, that there's interest in doing some planting as well. And that we could get volunteers to do it.
And-
where he
and-
would recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at, I mean, there happens to be this program with, Winooski Natural Resources right now who sell their plants, but it doesn't mean that, because everything we do is long-term. Then
Yeah.
it doesn't actually occur till next year,
Right.
when the plants are back available again, a year from
This
now.
happens
Yeah.
every year.
Because they haven't eradicated, we
Right,
don't
if we
have the
don't-
new plan yet.
If we don't buy these right now and plant them in a month, then we just do it next year.
Yeah.
Right, oh, this would be for next year anyway, because
Yeah.
Simon said there's no, and Andrew, I'm
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
says that there's no more money in the budget
Yeah.
for
Uh-huh,
anything like that, and the money that's in the operating budget is geared for invasive, and emerald ash borer treatment, so
yeah.
that's
okay.
the focus where the money's supposed to go to.
Uh-huh,
But just kind of thinking long-term of our continued management of the land.
yeah,
And like you say, if then we can flesh this out and say, oh, well, maybe you know, we do want a mini orchard somewhere, maybe
Yeah.
that's a cool idea, or maybe we're just sticking with, you know, red twig dogwood again, and which
Yeah.
everybody sees everywhere, and, but it's hardy, you know, and
Yeah,
so this is just kind of a first go round of it.
Yeah. I like
And
it.
I'd love to have a little educational component to it as well and have some of these plants, not all of them, some planted on the pathway where people go and maybe have this, you know, just a small signage like those tree things. Pre-ID signs, but just so people can see what are some of the alternatives that you can, I'm trying to remember some of the names of the, nino bark and, winterberry and things like that that are good for wildlife.
Mhm.
So showcase those.
Yeah,
And so this was a good example. Thank you, Reed, for putting that together, because a good example of sort of what a proposal should look like, that we would present to the select board, you know, for a project, so.
and so, you know, Simon had said last time, like, hey, collect a bunch of these together and then bring them to select board. And this is our first one, I think, right?
Yeah, and
So you-
you're right, I certainly wouldn't, in our current financial environment with our budget going down the tubes, so, you know, I wouldn't go running to the select board and say, I need $750,
Yeah,
you know.
Well, if this
it
went to
would-
the stewardship.
But it-
fund,
If
they
it,
would have
if
to.
it did,
Right.
yes, you.
The money's there.
The money's there,
I agree.
but still, um. It seems that if we're gonna take from the stewardship fund and then we have other projects, we should do them collectively.
Okay. So maybe we like put pen to paper and some other ideas and collect a few of these together and then plan. You know, at some point this coming year, you go to the select board and say, here's what we wanna spend. This one has some time because we're not gonna do it this spring.
Right,
So maybe middle of the summer, end of the summer, you know, we try to batch a few of these together and
Before they start the
Get them
budget
through.
process.
some of
Yeah.
them that we could act on in
Yeah.
February or in fall.
Yeah.
And then others, like this one would be acted on in the following
Yeah.
spring.
right.
Do we really have to go to the select board to ask them for $750?
Yes,
Yeah.
or
Out
the
of the
stewardship fund.
Steward,
Yes.
so everything out of the stewardship fund
Yes.
needs to be
That's,
approved?
Yeah.
we,
Which is why Simon said batch a few together,
Mm,
like show up and be
sure.
like, hi, we have 6 things we wanna do on the
Yeah.
stewardship fund.
$50 per sign, and
Yeah.
that seems like a waste of their time to me.
Right, and
Yeah.
that sort
Well,
of
this-
thing, I think, can go out of part of the operating budget
We get
does
signs out of the
include
operating.
Right, right.
educational, yeah, that kind of thing.
And-
So
I just put it,
and
if
that's
you
why I
want
said-
to nickel and dime their time.
I mentioned grants too, because the first batch of signs that I worked on over at Catamount, not last year, but the year before, we got a grant, from the Audubon Society. So if there's a tree organization, you know, that, or some other kind of national
Oh, right.
organization that we could search for,
I see.
we could find money without invading,
Yeah.
without, invading the stewardship fund, yeah.
And I actually, got a money grant, I guess you could call it, from the Audubon to build 12 of those bird boxes over
Yeah,
there, and they
yeah.
just wrote a check and said, that's a great idea, and I did a little proposal, nothing, you know.
And that's what we did for the signs too. I wrote a proposal and sent it in to them. Terry gave me the contacts and they sent us a check for $200.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
so they are pretty well funded, and they're very active at Catamount.
Yeah,
They have been for, I think, since the inception
yeah.
of Catamount, so.
So a lot of the birders over there are Audubon Society members.
Yeah.
So an Audubon may not pertain to this, but there might be some other organization which has funding
Right.
that we could look into.
And one of the other things I mentioned was the the bat houses. Bat house, I started in on it, talked to, this guy up in Milton. I talked to the scouts who are interested in not taking on that project as an Eagle Scout project, but at least being there to help build and put them up. So that would be, we would get the materials and they would put them together, and then help erect them. And then Jim, I talked to Jim about his bat population, so I just kind of have to follow up, but that's another proposal that
The
could
bats
be
in his belfry or?
batch, he does, including starlings.
Okay.
But he loves his bats. So yeah, so that could be batched with the trees, the shrubs project.
Okay, yeah, Good, so, I think then, let's start accumulating these proposals to go to the. Stewardship fund, to the select board to ask for approval. But in the meantime, to your point, if you can find somebody to pay for this. Outside of the stewardship fund, that's beautiful, but we probably should wait at least until the invasive plan is done.
Yeah, no,
Feels
I mean,
nice
yeah,
to-
it'd be more of,
Yeah.
what's out there, just Google grants for small forestry projects.
Yeah.
And something will probably show up,
Right.
it'll say, call Ethan. Yes.
Nice, yeah. After all, he did win that award.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay,
So
so,
find out that the tree farm organization has grants.
Yeah. so I don't think we need to vote on anything. I mean, I think at some
No,
point
no,
we'll vote
no.
on a collection of these things to
Right.
send to the select board.
Right.
So we'll kind of like put this
No,
one
this-
in our bank and.
This is kind of a draft idea
Yeah.
and not to be forgotten, but when we start to put these together, so that was something I threw together a week or so ago.
See, that's why I'm interested in more committee members. If we can get more reads.
Yeah.
Right?
It is pretty good signs.
You're really a good initiator with a lot of these things.
Very helpful.
So I
So,
appreciate your time that you put into that.
Well, wasn't that hard?
great, thank you.
Good,
Hans, I have a quick question.
yeah,
You know, we were talking about buying fruit trees and plants like that, and then you mentioned that you eat apples that are already there. I'm wondering whether pruning and sort of freeing up some of the existing fruit trees would be a much quicker and more effective process, at least in the beginning, to have those available and better. I don't know whether that was ever considered as part of the forestry management plan, is to free up fruit trees and prune them in a way that makes them produce better. But I think that would be a great addition to that, which we already have a lot of resources up there that just needed to be maintained.
I recently saw where somebody was giving a hands-on workshop, and I can't remember what it was, on taking old farm apple trees, which have either were purely wild, like we see at Catamount, or had just gone wild from ancient farms, and how to prune them and bring them back to life.
None of
There's
them
a
are
reason you get-
none of them are wild. They all were at least planted at some point.
Yeah, and you
These are
can,
trees,
learn how to,
yeah.
prune them back so that you get all new growth and hopefully better crop out of them.
Motion to send Reed to this webinar that he found
Well, I
somewhere.
can't remember where I read it. It's in one of the multiple streams that come in every morning on my
Morning, all
phone.
this stuff.
Yeah.
And you talked about.
I actually
Yeah, up there.
attended one of those workshops this weekend, and it was in
Oh.
Richmond, and it
Oh,
was.
so that's the
Jeff
thing. That
Wells.
is the one I saw. Yes, yes.
And it was put on through Coverts, local group in Vermont. And it was great. They had the guy who was putting the workshop on ahead of time, mark the limbs that needed to be cut. And he explained why, and there were 20 people there. And so he had marked a bunch of trees, and then he said, go for it. Everybody grabbed their, tools and went out and worked on these trees and piled the brush. So that was great. And I did talk to Jim, over 6 months ago, asking him where the apple orchard was at the farm back in the day. And he said, oh, way out near Sandman's and, all on that side. But he said it all got grown up and they just let it go. But there are other apple trees around, and there's actually one up near that bench that's a ski toe thing, whatever. A seat, whatever it's called. What do you call
It's
it?
a chairlift.
Chairlift.
Yeah,
I knew. And that tree is beautiful. And about 3 years ago, it produced the most amazing crop. And so there is a group of about 20 folks that is Friends of the Catamount, and they're a volunteer group. And we've done the poison parsnip, and we've done, invasive poles. And so that's a group that would be good to be tapped
To
for
fruit pruning. and
fruit pruning.
whatnot,
So great idea. Thank you, John, for bringing that up again. But there is there's that one trail called Applesauce, where that whole area over there is a lot of apple trees.
We called it that because Jim said that that's where some old apple trees were, I think, yeah.
Right, and then Ethan said there's another up near Talcott. Is that right? There's another group of apple trees up there?
There is, yeah, and pruning them is actually in the forest management plan already, I think.
Yeah,
Oh.
We just haven't got around to it. We're trying to get some funding to do that.
Oh, nice.
great. Yeah, so
Cool.
there's plenty of apple trees.
Yeah, we can map them, yeah, let's get our, what was that, what's that Avenza thing, we should like map our apple trees, or, I don't know.
Yeah, fruit trees, yeah, apples, mostly apples. So.
Okay, so let's go on, we have, right on schedule
Yeah,
for the COFC update and the special topic of the trail master plan. Continuing discussion on that. And if my wife texts me and says, I need you to come home now. Should I go? I
Yeah.
might take this call,
Now means now.
yeah, so I don't know what's going on with all the kids, but sometimes they're. But I will take this call if I can join, if you let me in on Zoom, I will continue on Zoom. So I
okay.
apologize for that, but. So John, why don't you go?
Okay.
And then I probably will still be on virtually here for the other business, but before we jump there, did we have any new town forest events to approve?
Do, yes.
Yes,
Oh,
there
yeah.
are, yeah.
Okay, so then let's just roll right into that, cause the main coordination is with John, to check the Catamount calendar. So I happen to not be there.
So do you wanna do the John's update first?
Yeah, do
or-
John's
Yeah.
update first and then
There you
go
go.
straight into the town forest events,
Yep.
and then that gets us to the end, unless there's additional
Yep.
other business items to bring up.
Nope,
But I need to call home and see what's going on, and then
sure,
I'll try to
All right.
jump on so look for me in the waiting room.
Will do.
For that, yeah.
Yes.
John.
Okay, John, it's all you.
great. We can't wait. You wanna know how that snow, if you got some use out of that last snowstorm?
Well, I'd say that's maybe a stretch. People definitely skied, but the ground it had really lost a lot of the frost in a lot of places, and things were soft and wet. So we didn't encourage a ton of use at this point. It really followed the trend of the whole winter, which has been really tough for us. We've had dry, bare ground in every month, and it's dramatically affected our revenue. And we're currently working on the annual budget with the board and staff, and this is certainly impacting that. We're really focused on camps and sponsorships, partnerships, race series, clinics, and events going forward. We do have some new events and clinics we're going to do this spring and summer. And we've been trying some different camp and race series advertising on Star 92, in case anybody listens. Mike and Mary have been promoting us a little bit. We found out actually that Mary runs in our race series, and so we're trying to leverage that a little bit too. But speaking of summer, we have a lot of camp staff returning, and so we're feeling really good about the staffing program, and we're coming into it with a pretty good foundation, as opposed to trying to train up a bunch of folks this year. People were really enthusiastic about coming back, and we have finished public meetings now for our comprehensive trail planning project. We had our final one on Tuesday of this week. We have been working, but now are really focused on it. Our Act 50 and wetlands permits, and these are based on the public comments that we've received, staff and board feedback, the historic record, and then we've defined 7 major goals that are helping us set the parameters of what we're working on too. So just to give you all an idea of what those are, we have identified improving drainage, hardening trails, designing and building a friendly and accessible way to and from the lookout, adding accessibility to a wider range of trails, maximizing fun accessibility of our progressive learning and terrain park areas, eliminating trail sections that are redundant or confusing, and eliminating confusing trail intersections. These are all meant to reduce impacts, add weatherproof access, increase sustainability, and increase accessibility for our less able and adaptive visitors. So those are the main things that we're trying to focus on, and we've identified a bunch of the intersections that we're trying to work on. We've identified trails that we are considering for rerouting, and then other trails that we're expecting to stay where they are, and then sections of trails that we feel that might be worthy of eliminating. So that's the process that we're in now. And then I just have one other thing to add, and then we can talk more about the trail planning process if folks want to. We do have a major grant announcement soon, but we need to await official permission from the state to share the details. So we have shared with a couple people, but we need to be quiet for the moment. But I'm too excited not to say something. So that's our report for this month. And any questions or concerns or comments, we're happy to hear them.
So could you, I was on the meeting the other night for the trails, but could you just explain what was, from the public's input, what was some of the common themes that came from some of the attendees? And
I think that everybody appreciated the 7 core goals that we were trying to address. It helps people to sort of narrow down what's possible. The presentation that I've been giving in the beginning of that too, that explains the documents that limit what can and can't happen on the property, have been really helpful for people too, for them to understand, just like what layers there are and how many different, governing bodies we have to work under, and what the limits are in terms of what we can do, even just with trail planning. Some people were like, let's do lots more trails. And we were like, well, we can't do that. So it helps people to focus on what's possible. And then some of the other pieces of common feedback were to remember, all uses as much as possible on trails, and that we want to increase the friendliness of the trails, including sight lines and naturally slowing people down in key spots, making it really a friendly place for everybody. So I'd say those were the major points of feedback. Everybody's very excited about the upgrade in terms of hardening and drainage. Those are perennial challenges at the center, and something that we feel we can have a very positive and quick effect on once we get the permits and are able to start.
so you mentioned, adding some trails, closing some trails and things like that. Do you think the amount of mileage will pretty much stay the same in the end?
That's likely. We haven't done an inventory to say this many feet will go away and this many feet will be added. And it's a bit of a moving target with Act 250. We may propose a reroute, then they may say no. So that reroute would not be added then at that point. So there's a bit of a negotiation process with them too, and back and forth on what is allowed. But we looked at several pieces that we want to eliminate and not a whole lot that we're trying to add. So, and I think part of it depends on which map you're looking at. But we're looking at the on the ground map and being like, do we need this? And, if we don't, why don't we need it? And is it okay for it to get, to go back into the forest? So, we are looking critically at what's on the ground and not necessarily what's on the map, because they don't agree.
Because I've seen anywhere from 20 to 26 miles. So,
and I don't think that there's ever been a fully accurate count. You know, we talk about it, but I mean, I think, you know, I look at maps and I'm like, that's not what it looks like on the ground.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and even our most accurate maps are still miss some of the stuff. So, and Hans has done a great job of keeping up on that. But there are, you know, little social things that have developed over time, and a fair amount of historic ones that just, you know, are there and get used. And so, I think that part of this is to really get a handle on that too, and say this is now the network, and we're going to really do a good job of eliminating all those little crossovers and you know, social connections that have been there. So
Any more other questions? Are you running it or am I running it?
I can-
Is Hans? I mean,
Hans isn't here yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
So not on your plan, John, but I just have a question about what's your opinion of the trails now that we're several months post forestry project? The last time I tramped around in there was still, you know, not all the debris had been moved off some of the little switchback trails, especially the ones that are used for snowshoeing and things like that. And just coming into spring, what's your opinion of the trail conditions where we had forested?
I mean, the repairs to the pieces that got logged, I think, are in good shape. We had some minor drainage problems in that area after one of our weird rain on ice events. So, you know, we have some repairs to do there, but it was stuff that we knew we needed to do a little bit more in anyways. It was spots where it was a lot of sand. And we needed to put some stone in to kind of hold it together a little better. So I think, you know, the logging looks fine out there, and we were happy with the repair work that got done, and you know, the feedback from users so far has been positive. You know, I mean, there are people who miss the trees, and there are ones that, you know, say that it'll never be the same for them again. But you know, generally speaking, it's been a pretty positive experience for folks.
Good, thank you.
any other questions? If not, John, do you have anything else?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. All right, if everyone's okay with it, excuse me, we can move on to events. I don't see Hans yet, but I think with 3, we're okay, right?
Yeah, I think
Yes,
that's
we
a
still have a
possibility.
forum, yes, because we only have 5.
Yeah.
All right, so let me pull up the spreadsheet here.
Oh, and did you get the information about the geology walk would be 15?
I did, I
Okay, good.
can't remember if I,
Yeah, last I looked, it wasn't updated. It said something like
Okay.
cars.
let me throw that in right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna start with. Let's see. If I can, this is- So we'll start with Ethan's event. Ethan, we have 2 for you. The first one is your New England American Society of Foresters, proposed for, let's see, March 29th.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, so it's two events that ended up on the same day just by the way it worked out. And these are the only events that are currently planned at Catamount for me. So the the Society of American Foresters is a professional organization that advocates for forestry. And Vermont is hosting our annual conference, which is a big deal for Vermont. And they want to we're doing a field section to look at some innovative forestry practices. And so we want to come and really show off the forest management project at Catamount as an example of that. So it's not publicly advertised, but it isn't more than 25 people. So that's why it's here. I had also months and months ago offered to take the UVM birding club out on that day as well. That is less than 25 people, also not publicly advertised. That would probably be more like 10 people.
We don't have anything on our schedule for the 29th, but we are in that period of fragile trails and currently are closed to all uses. You know, things are not clear exactly which direction we're going in with weather. We do have some cooler weather, but as long as the trails are fine, that one seems fine to us.
Cool.
And is there a date before that we can talk and confirm that we're good to go out?
Yeah, sure. What are you thinking?
Well, I don't want to make it, you know, too close to the event for you to have to then scramble, but not so far away that we're guessing hard.
I mean, I think
is a week okay?
I mean, yeah, a week's okay for me. I don't think that if we stay on the gravel trails, I don't know that, you know, on foot 50 people could cause a significant impact. It'd sort of be nice to know one way or another if we can do it.
I'm not debating that part. You know, when we got a request from Tony, I went out and walked today and was like, ooh, even the gravel is going to be rough. You know, I don't like saying no to people coming and visiting the center at all. But it is a fragile time, and that it was like today the gravel paths are pretty soft and funky, and 50 people would cause damage. So I just, you know, I want to be careful about even those spots that we've hardened. They're not fully hardened, especially with, you know, in there. So I mean, looking into my crystal ball, I'd say the 29th is fine. You know, we're not going to have a ton more snow, and it's not going to be super cold, but who knows? You know, I just want to be careful about it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the weather and it really doesn't look like a whole lot of anything, but. Yeah,
No,
I think,
but, you know, cool at night and you know, warm during the day. Is it going to be enough to get the frost out of the ground in time? You know, I think so. I mean, we're likely to, we've been telling people we're probably going to be riding bikes soon. So
and most, I think where Ethan will be going is, I mean, the Velco Road, you know, where it's gravel and then out to the landing and, yeah.
yeah, I mean, out, we walked that section today and out to the power line, totally fine. Like rock hard, really no big deal. It's beyond that. That's where things are, you know, and there's been a lot less gravel put into that piece beyond that. So that, you know, that's the difference there.
So do you normally vote individually, or is it just one at the end?
I don't know. I think, you know, I guess my feeling as one of the members is that I think, like, you know, John says you can't have a crystal ball, but I think that it should be fine. I mean, just by looking at the weather and, you know, the area that they're gonna be going, I think it would be fine to, you know, say, go ahead unless we have this major, you know, monsoon or an event. I think it probably should be fine.
I think it's kind of it almost comes under the same category as like a rain date situation,
Rain
where
date type thing, yeah.
the board can approve it, the committee, sorry, can approve it, and then, you know, if all of Catamount's trails are closed that day,
Right.
and that's obviously,
If it's,
yeah,
right, it would have to be, you know, like John said, it would have to be, you know, a major event to, you know, close down the trails, but. So I don't know, does that work for you, Ethan? I mean, as a committee, I'm only talking for
Yeah.
as one member.
That sounds fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
can-
think,
and if that, yeah, we can, John and I can check in and if the trails are really soft, we can make another plan.
Yeah, I would agree with those thoughts, yeah.
I don't think we normally vote, though. It's normally just hashing out the details.
Okay.
yeah,
There's an official approval.
I guess I don't know, I think we do sort of approve it. I mean, we haven't done this often.
Okay,
But it's really more of a check-in with the outdoor center to make sure there's not an event, but
understood. Then let's just go through all the events and we'll do a
yeah.
vote that's formal, but maybe
Or-
over unnecessary.
Should we do one for Ethan so he doesn't have to sit through the next two? I mean, he's all the way out in California,
Vancouver.
We can
Vancouver.
do that. Ethan, if you want to, you can speak to the next one. And I threw this on the schedule after talking with Alex from Heinsberg.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. There was that other one.
Can you point it out? I don't see it.
So it is this
Can't tell.
Champlain Valley Conservation Partnership
Oh,
On May
okay.
1.
is on May 1st.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, that, okay.
They
didn't see
just
that.
wanted, that's a group of like, I don't know what they said, like 10, not very many people. I think like 10.
It will definitely be less than 25. I think it would be more likely 5 to 10
Yeah.
max.
And they just wanted to, so Alex works for the town of Heinsberg and some other folks in the Champlain Valley Partnership. Just want to look at the work and talk about managing town forests.
Mhm. Yeah, they're all representatives from mostly Chittenden County. So I will also be there. I plan to be there.
Great, and that would be Ethan's covered under the town umbrella, so that should be,
Yes.
Yeah.
As am I.
right, good. Or for insurance, for your COI,
Right. So John is May 1st.
May 1st is fine. I don't think we have anything scheduled on that day. And generally speaking, we are in summer mode by May 1st. In terms of, trail use and stuff, that's, I mean, we're likely to be in it much sooner than that, but May 1st is when we technically switch over.
Okay.
and it's a Wednesday.
Yeah. And, we haven't started race series yet, so Wednesday is fine.
Great.
Okay. All right, well,
Can I ask a question? The one that's back up, the UVM Birding Club one, 329, is that 7:30 PM or is it AM?
It's 5 o'clock to 7:30.
Oh, it is,
Starts-
it is.
Starts at 5 p.m. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't see the first time, okay, great,
Might be dark.
yeah.
Owls.
so Ethan, if we can just do a vote, someone wants to make a motion and then.
I'll make a motion
Mr. Hans,
to, okay, yeah, is Hans waiting?
just make sure I've been sharing my screen.
Do we want to talk about 6.6 too?
Yes, I was just,
And 5.18?
I just figured Ethan didn't have to sit through, we could just because he's on
okay.
Zoom. Yeah. But so I'm just gonna make a motion to approve the 2 events that Ethan Tapper, County Forester, will be holding.
3.
3 events.
'Cause you got
Oh, yes,
5
that's right, the birding and
Yeah.
3 events, that Ethan Tapper will be holding as county forester.
Second,
thank you. And vote. All those in
Aye.
favor?
All in favor?
Any against? Yes, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Ethan, congratulations.
Yes,
Flying home tomorrow. I'll see you soon.
all right,
Bye, Ethan.
All right,
Bye.
safe travel, see you on Sunday.
All right, and then we can move into, yes, the other 2 events. So Terry, if you
Yeah,
wanna
so-
take the,
Sure, yeah, I can do that, so let's see, so these 2 events, boy, it's hard to read, okay, thank you.
can zoom in as well.
there's one above it too, the 5.
So this,
there are 3 Terry.
There's
events.
3, yes, there's the 551, which is the Green Mountain Audubon Society.
Line 13,
So it's up, number 13, yes, line number 13.
So line number 13 looks like it was confirmed.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
That's already done.
These-
That's right.
Alright,
That's
so we're
why I
just-
thought too.
Yeah,
These are library events and Lori from the Williston Library is going to, she usually puts on a series. So there's 2 events that they are thinking about holding over at Catamount. And the first one is on May 18th from 8 AM till 10 PM, which would be a spring migration bird walk. And we would be walking, usually starting in the parking lot, and then walk over to the Velco, Woods Trace Road. And usually we don't get any further than the power line, just because there's so many birds to see in that section. So that's really as far as we
So it's a
get.
very short.
It's a
walk in
short
there.
walk, yeah. We might get to the, just beyond that to the log landing, you know, where, what was the log landing, so, but that's usually, unless people want to go on their own and continue to walk, but we usually stop there and then walk back. So that would be max 25 people, but I would say more like 15.
Okay.
But we're just gonna cap it at the 25.
do you want to speak about the other one too, and then we can just check with John?
Yes, yeah, we'll do both. And then on Thursday, on June 6th, Laura Meyer, who's a Conservation Commission member and a master naturalist, is going to have a geology walk for the Williston Library as well. And she usually starts in the parking lot and then walks up towards the, not sure what the name of that trail is, but out towards the power line. But on the other side of the hub, near the night loop, I guess you could go out that way, and then we actually kind of bushwhack a little bit up into the area towards the lookout. And that was from 4 to 6. is the-
So it's sort of-
4 to 6
Yeah.
PM.
4 to 6 PM. Laura chose that date, or they both did, Lori and Laura chose that date because it's before the camps start. So it's, you know, less people, the kids aren't gonna be there, so. Yeah, those are the 2
So
events.
at 518, we have our Tri Mountain Bike Clinic series, which we would probably be using Woods Trace, but it you know, it would be passing through and shouldn't be very disruptive to you guys at all. And
What time
then,
do they start?
that one I think starts at 10, so it would,
Oh.
there might be some overlap of you guys walking out.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be a huge deal. And then on 6/6, that is a race night for us. So, and races start at 6.
Okay,
And so we need to adjust either our courses or make sure that you guys are not on, that, you know, that we're not overlapping there, because we certainly don't want to send a bunch of people running at you and
okay. Yeah, and I think Laura can be pretty flexible. It's, you know, geology. She could even go across on the other side of the road. But I'll chat with her and do you know at this point where you'd be running?
No, and that's part of it. You know, we do set up a cycle so that it doesn't get too repetitive for everybody, that, you know, that we're moving between the courses, but try to adjust for events like this. So
Okay,
if we can you know, get this in our heads and on the schedule, then we can figure out how to run the race that night.
great. Okay. I can get a little bit clearer path of what trails that Laura was thinking on going on. And then I'll relay that to you like in the next few days, but yeah.
Okay.
Great, so that would work for you?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, you know, we can work around it.
Great. Okay,
Thank you, John.
John, what about the solar eclipse viewing party?
Oh, I'm sorry, we should talk about that. We have the only free one in the area. So I think we're guaranteed to have cloudy day.
yeah.
But we have a free solar eclipse viewing party, and then a couple events around that. We have a telescope building party, and and I forget what the other one is right now, but so we're trying to get folks to come out for the whole day and then, but we are, open. And as long as the trails are fine, we're gonna let folks go out on the trails. If they're not, we're gonna ask folks to stay in the parking lot and in that area. But I again, things are drying out so fast, it's likely that we'll be out there. Was that what you were hoping for, Danielle? Did you have any other questions?
Yeah, that was it, just,
Sure.
it's a
And I'm
thing.
sorry I didn't mention that because that's a very close upcoming fun.
Just be careful how you advertise it. With the number of people that
Yeah.
are saying that are coming to Vermont, you could have 15,000 cars on the road there.
Yeah.
So,
Right, that's-
People keep saying this, but is this really true? I mean,
yeah,
Yeah,
the other
we're-
day, my wife and I were talking about hotels in the area and the new one being built, so I was just scanning through cost of hotel rooms right now, and then I said, I wonder what it is for the Eclipse. It was astronomical. You're talking about $800 a night for a hotel room in this area.
Are
I
they
said,
booked though?
And
Are they
then most of them are booked.
booked? Yeah,
Yeah,
so there's gonna be a lot of people here.
Yeah, there's gonna be, people are coming, people are advertising, like, we used to do it foliage season, people are advertising, you can rent my bedroom for
Yeah.
$2,000 for a night, and so,
It's crazy, yeah.
yeah.
guaranteed to be cloudy then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pouring rain.
But that
Yes.
won't deter people, I tell you, it's definitely, people are committed, if they've made plans and they paid that amount of money. I mean, you're still gonna see the sky get dark.
Yeah,
It'll still be, yeah.
Yeah.
and it won't be
So-
quite as much fun as putting the glasses on.
Glasses.
Yeah.
Now, do we need to approve the library ones? Do we need to?
Yeah, why don't you just?
Yeah,
So
let's
I'll-
just-
so I'll make a motion to approve the 2 library events as presented with the caveats of being careful that we don't interfere with the races.
second.
All those in favor?
I,
None opposed. All right. I think that does it for tonight.
Oh, I have this has nothing to do with anything, but I've been looking at that list, the Excel. Once things get approved, would it be possible to put it in order, like date? Cause it's
Yeah.
really hard to see when you're,
That's easy.
you know,
That's easy.
yeah, there's probably some function you can do, but it's hard to like look through that and just see, like, I didn't know Ethan had another
Yeah.
event there,
Yeah.
because it was great.
Can do.
Great, thank you. That would
Yeah.
be helpful. And then, but yeah, and I really must say, for me, the only thing for events, was the bird walk. Is it May? Yeah, May 5th. And then later in September, Mark Labar from Audubon, Vermont, will be doing bird banding because he couldn't do it in the spring. The library from here, I'm sure Lori will be able to, do this on, now she knows the process. And you have her email, so she'll be contacting you to just get it on the schedule, see if it's okay, and then we'll review it. And I was just telling her to look on the outdoor center calendar, even though not everything's there, just to be aware, just to look and see, if it's conflicting with any events, so.
Yeah.
She's aware of that, so. Good.
I guess just on that topic, I'll mention that, I think as far as adding events to that spreadsheet, having a bit of a deadline, I generally will send the agenda out Friday or Monday. And so I think Friday has a deadline that if you want to submit an event prior to a meeting, that's a deadline.
Yeah.
And then I think it's best if you plan like a month out for an event. That way we can coordinate with staff, with John, and make sure that, this gets the proper review that it deserves.
Yeah, no, I think it's working, this worked well tonight, it was good to have everybody in the room, talk about dates and what other events were going on.
Yeah.
And obviously that's mostly for our use in here.
Yeah.
Most events won't be doing this process, so.
Right, yeah.
Sorry. Just a quick comment. The ducks are back. I don't know if our
Wood
ducks are
ducks.
back,
Oh,
yes,
right,
but I'll be out tromping around, checking the boxes, making sure they're still standing upright, which I assume they are, and checking the nesting material for this year. And we're hoping to get that mallard to put on the edge of the pond, not in the pond this year, in case we have another disaster. But those are just myself and my brother-in-law who do those, but I will be aware of when the outdoor family center's running races too, because you don't need us pulling our pickup truck into
You're right.
Jim's driveway and
Driveway,
things
yeah.
like that, so I'll make sure those are the right days and then we can get
Yeah.
out in there.
Good,
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully they're gonna be coming back and,
Yes.
yeah, and so we'll be, yeah, and any beavers yet? At the pond? Haven't seen any beavers.
I haven't seen any, no.
Good, all right. It was just, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah,
There was a beaver in that, the middle pond.
right.
Yeah.
Did a nice job keeping the water level up.
Yes, yeah, it did. Oh, yeah, but you know, that's why, that, mentioning that, we were kind of working on naming those ponds. So
Yes.
at some point, I know you had some ideas, John, and about naming the ponds but it would be just nice to know what pond we're talking about.
1, 2, and 3.
Something a little bit more.
Yes, we did, yes.
Yeah, so someday we'll work on that, so.
Yeah.
Good. If there's nothing else to talk about, we can adjourn the meeting at 6:38. Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Well,
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
have a great night, everybody.
You too.
You.